And Mr. Vindman, you were treated to a July 10th meeting in the White House where you heard Ambassador Sondland raise investigations, conditioning a White House meeting on that, investigations that you thought were unduly political. I believe that's how you described them. And you went to NSC Council and you reported it, right?
Correct.
And then later, you too were on the White House call, am I right? You heard it with your own ears.
Correct.
Not secondhand, not from somebody else, not hearsay, right?
Correct.
You heard the president's voice on the call.
I did.
And you heard him raise that subject again that Ambassador Sondland had raised before about investigating the Bidens, right?
I did.
And I want to ask you, when you heard him say that, what was the first thought that went through your mind?
Frankly, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was probably an element of shock that maybe in certain regards, my worst fear of how our Ukraine policy could play out was playing out. And how this was likely to have significant implications for U.S. national security. And
you went immediately and you reported it, didn't you?
I did.
Why?
Because that was my duty.
You still have your opening statement handy?
I do.
Could you read the last paragraph for me again? Not the one, the very last one, the second to last one. Would you read that one again for me? Because I think the American public deserves to hear it again.
The dad started.
That's the one.
I think my dad would appreciate this one too. Dad, my sitting here today in the U.S. Capitol talking to our elected officials is proof that you made the right decision 40 years ago to leave the Soviet Union and come here to the United States of America in search of a better life for our family. Do not worry, I'll be fine for telling the truth.
You realize when you came forward out of sense of duty that you were putting yourself in direct opposition to the most powerful person in the world. Do you realize that, sir?
I knew I was assuming a lot of risk.
And I'm struck by that word, don't worry, that phrase, do not worry, you addressed to your dad. Was your dad a warrior?
He did serve. It was a different military, though.
And he would have worried if you were putting yourself up against the President of the United States, is that right?
He deeply worried about it because in his context, there was the ultimate risk.
And why do you have confidence that you can do that and tell your dad not to worry?
Congressman, because this is America. This is the country I've served and defended, that all of my brothers have served, and here, right matters.
Thank you, sir. Yield back.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome back. I'm your humble host, Bobby Jones, and in the effort to continue to bring you not only subject matter experts, but high quality leadership in those running for office, it's my absolute honor and pleasure to bring to you United States Senate candidate out of the great state of Florida, Alex Vindman. Some of you may remember that name because he was in the news a lot a few years ago, and we're going to get into that. But first, I just want to welcome Alex. Alex, thank you for showing up today.
Hey, thanks. And I'm glad to be your humble guest and have this chat with you, Bobby.
Let's get everybody to know a little bit about you because, yes, you had a very highly public moment in your life, but it was really the culmination of a journey. And what I think is the ultimate American story. Can you give us a little bit about your background and how you wound up sitting here running for Senate?
My family came to the U.S. in 1979. We were refugees from communism, from the Soviet Union, fleeing a political oppression, anti-Semitism, settled in New York. Not a strange story for the people of Florida here, especially with their experience with communism and socialism in both Cuba and Venezuela and other corners. And grew up in New York City, a New York City kid, public school systems, but with a deep recognition of the fact that America is a special place, with a desire to figure out how to serve and give back. And frankly, also, a high energy kid, late bloomer, recognizing that military service was actually a good thing for me, getting some of that structure, some of that discipline, to allow me to build some skills to succeed. So all of that allowed me to join the military after finishing university, 21 and a half years of military service. Immigrant roots, good, tough dad that was focused on instilling some hardworking ethics and values in us, and then a long military career that put me in a position of responsibility, and whether it was embassies in Ukraine, Russia, the Pentagon, where I authored the strategy for how do we contend with Russia, and then ultimately doing that job well, the White House, and that's where you mentioned I came into conflict with the president of the United States that looked to inject politics into our national security in a way that we'd never experienced before, trying to steal an election.
And again, the great American story, but then had to stand on uniquely American principles. Can you tell us just a little bit your time in the Army? And we gloss over a little bit. People just saw the uniform, but man, you earned the right to be in the White House. Can you talk a little bit about what your experience was like in uniform and how it affected you?
I had an awesome military career. When in that moment where my career just went and crashed and burned, I was basically at the top of my field, having done jobs that were kind of absolutely unique. That took it took almost 20 years to get there. I was an infantryman in Korea for my first assignment with the 1st of the 506. That's the famous unit that was depicted in Stephen Ambrose Band of Brothers. Served in different corners of the world, deployed to combat, ended up getting wounded in the big battle of Fallujah in November 2004 by an Iranian-made roadside bomb. From there, based on my language abilities, I had to make a tough call about whether to continue to serve as an infantryman, or branch out into a specialty. And I figured that my language and my cultural understanding could allow me to be a pretty good strategist and diplomat. So I ended up going down that route, serving in the embassy in Ukraine, Russia, was there when that big war kicked off in 2014. This war has been going on for 12 years, almost. And that was just the partial war, where they seized a bunch of territory, and then went back to the White House, to the Pentagon, and ended up running the Russia strategy for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So in all, couldn't have wished for a better run. And I was actually I was selected for promotion to colonel, selected for increased responsibility. Probably would have been in uniform today, managing some of the various crises, but I had to make a decision about whether what was the right thing to do, witnessing the president try to steal an election, reported it, and then testified in front of Congress. A surreal activity for an 05, 20 years in, being dragged into the public eye.
Let's talk a little bit about that. You won't have to go too deep, but just a little bit. What did you see, and what did you know was wrong, and why did you speak up?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I mentioned my dad instilling some values in us. Being willing to stand on principles, maybe a little bit of reverence, and the belief that everybody in America is subject to the same laws. Nobody's above the law. I think my military career as a leader, not walking by mistakes, calling things the way I saw them, balls and strikes, doing that, delivering that in the military chain of command respectfully, but calling it the way I see it, and being encouraged to do that. I mean, there was some of you, your viewers may see General McKenzie, who is a CENTCOM commander on TV now, talking about Iran. He was my boss when I was at the Pentagon in the J5 writing the strategy, and then he was the director of Joint Staff. And I remember on my way out the door to the Pentagon, he said, "Look, he told me that he valued my voice.